And today, this is what we're going to be working on. Let's go ahead and tweet that. And then let's show that we're going live here. It worked. And we're done with Twitter for now. Make sure that's all good. See if our sound is coming through. It is. I always check that because it's bitten me. Twitch title. Working on that stuff. Yep, that looks good. Alright. Close that down. Alright, so quick shout out DevBetter, if any of you are interested. We met for a couple hours this morning. We've got about a dozen members right now. It's career coaching for developers that I'm doing. You get to learn from me, you get to learn from the other members, a lot of whom have a lot of experience to share as well. We're actually starting some projects together that we're working on. We're going to be working on them some more this afternoon. There is a fee, a monthly fee to join, and if you stay in for 2 years, then you're basically alumni and you get to stay in for free after that. But check it out if it's something of interest to you. There's some testimonials at the bottom you can read. See if they sound like something you'd be interested in. Alright. I pulled up this heat map. The Live Coders is a group of folks on Twitch. You can go to their Live Coders team page, livecoders.dev here. I'll paste this in the chat. And so this is a group of just different live stream folks. Let me find my chat window. There it is. Hey, Shady Niggy, how's it going? So if you're interested in following other folks, you can go here, click around, see who they are, what kind of stuff they do, find out how to follow them. There's a bunch of them. Someone was nice enough, I don't remember who right now. Let's see where the repo is. Lannon VR, it looks like, created this heat map so that you could see when the most or least popular time slots are. In the past, this was one of the most popular ones. We'll see if that holds true now. But this past week, last night at 9 o'clock was super popular. 17 Thursday, so right there. Also, ooh, I didn't know I could click on that. It shows stuff. Nice. There was also 17 on Tuesday at 2 o'clock, so that seems to be the peak. I may try and shift my time slot on Fridays to a get this out of the way of the chat, to a later time. I'm figuring if there are a ton of people in the 12 to 2 slot that I'm usually in, maybe they would, fall off and raid my channel or something at the end of that time frame, and people could kind of end their week. Or if you're in West Coast time, you could spend your lunchtime checking stuff out. Mr. Kellner, how's it going? Alright, that was a very quick hello. Alright, so that's Live Coders. Check them out. We're done with this. So let's go to where we're going to be talking about today. So github.com, like Ardalis, like API endpoints. I had a request on one of my issues to get a new release out because I have some new stuff that I've been sitting on. So I told him I'd try and do that this week. So that's what we're going to try and do today. Alright, cool. So let's see which issues we have open. The different versions, abstraction requests, cancellation tokens. And I think this is the one that had the request to get this out. So someone was willing to do a PR, optional. Can't do optional parameters on there. Alright, so we're going to have a version 2.0, add cancellation support, that's already been done. When will we get this? So 24 days ago we got a PR that adds cancellation token support, and I haven't pushed out a new NuGet package, so that's on me to get done. So let's figure that out. Also, let's see what we have out here. We also have code analyzers that I've been sitting on for no good reason. So let's take a look at the code analyzers. We wanted a code analyzer that would make it so that if you added additional public methods to your endpoint, it would tell you that that's not a good thing. Viceni, today you're going to be here for the whole stream. Awesome. Good to have you here. So there's no way to enforce directly in C# the design constraint that you only want something to have methods that belong to a base type or a base interface. And so the way we're getting around that is by adding a code analyzer that will just pop up a warning. And so that's what Philip Piddle has done for us, presumably. I haven't tested this out, but presumably this is in here, and this is ready. Introduces a new package, needs to be published separately, and then once that's published, we'll need to have Ardalis endpoints depend on that one. And I said I'd try it out later today, 11 days ago, and then of course I got busy and didn't do that. So let's do this one first, because that way before I push out API endpoints, I can set it up so it depends on this code analyzers one. It would be nice to see what the user's primary code is. Oh, you mean on the live coders? Yeah, that would be good. If we go back to livecoders.dev and look at the team members, he says he's doing JavaScript, TypeScript, etc. So he's got that listed, but not everyone does. They do. I'm on here somewhere. So I talk about C#, ASPNET, Azure. Yeah, so mine's got it. So some have it. These aren't clickable though. It'd be nice if you could filter by these, wouldn't it? So this is itself a GitHub repo thing. So somewhere on here there's a repo where you can add a pull request or an issue for this, I think. So here, might be here. Website. So you could certainly go to this website right there, I think. SyscaDK1. Go there, and if there's not already an issue that says, hey, we should be able to filter down by tech, filtering and searching like this. It'd be nice to be able to filter down by categories. Yeah, so just go upvote this one here by Benjamin Lannon, and tell him how smart he is that he's requesting the same thing that you want back in February. And then you can volunteer to do a pull request to add that feature, of course, right? Cool. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and merge this in, or should I check out the branch? I really hate checking out other people's branches to work on stuff. It's such a pain to deal with. So if I merge it, then I can just do a get latest and I'll be all set. But if he totally breaks all kinds of stuff, then I'll regret that decision. But let's just look at what's here real quick. So okay, there's a solution file. He adds code analyzers and tests. That's good. He talks about he takes out this thing that I'd like to do. That's fine. Adds a project file. Adds an analyzer. Adds a code fix provider. Says how to install the thing with a install PowerShell. Uninstall. Modifies this thing to include the analyzer. This is the part I'm going to have to change later, so it uses a NuGet package. Alright. Makes that so we can test it. Has a test project. Writes some tests using Visual Studio testing tools. I'd rather use XUnit, but I'm not going to be too picky. Code fix verifier. This is in the test project, I guess, so it's some kind of helper for that. And some diagnostic result. More helpers, more verifiers. These are all in the test project. I'm going to say that looks good enough to merge. And we'll see how it works locally. And we'll try and push out the analyzer as a separate package. Alright, so now that's merged. Let's get rid of some of these things out of the background. I was trying to keep this stuff clean so that the chat window wouldn't have stuff behind it, so that's hopefully better. And let's go back to Visual Studio. There. And we can do a pull on this. Alright, so we have a sample app now. We have endpoints and code analyzers as separate source packages. We have tests just for that. Did I really not write any tests for this? That doesn't sound like me, but alright. I guess when it's just a couple of abstract classes with nothing going on, there's not a lot to test. Alright, so let's run the test. Let's start with that. So we'll come over here, let's build. And let's run. I had tests I wrote for the sample. That's what I did. I didn't actually write any tests for the endpoints itself. But where are his tests? His tests ought to be showing up here. Run the tests. These are my old tests. Where's his tests? Test class. It doesn't like any of that. But it builds. Alright, Visual Studio. What are you doing? Rebuild all succeeded, but none of this stuff works. Alright, well first let's see if we can run these things on the command line. Somehow I have 4 changes to push up. That doesn't seem right. Okay, good, they run. It's just Visual Studio being drunk. Alright. What did I change? Your branch is ahead by 4 commits. It really shouldn't be. I don't see where I'm ahead of origin by 4 commits. They're literally the same. So I don't know what's going on here. Let's do a git push and hope I don't break things. Okay. And let's restart Visual Studio because it's being crazy. So let's close that. Let's give it a second to die and open this. And it's going to ding because my end append is still messed up. Go away, go away. Alright, now Test Explorer. You're going to show multiple projects? Hey, now you're happy. Alright. Let's see. Everything's good. Alright, cool. Now let's see if these things actually do what they are supposed to do. So if I go into my sample app, and we're going to check and see if these analyzers work. So if I have some author endpoints here like get, and this inherits from base async endpoint, and it takes a cancellation token now, which is nice. But I can always add another action here, so I could add a public async task of action result do something, and it could have a route on here, HTTP get, do something, right? Alright, so then what's this? It's red. It lacks an await. Oh, that's fine. Wait task dot completed task. Can we do that? That doesn't really work. Let's just do that. Can't do. Okay, fine. Return OK. There. Async lacks await. Yeah. Let's just make it not async. It's not really what I'm trying to test. Okay, so if I had a code analyzer, then at some point it should tell me that I shouldn't have this extra method on here. I'm not seeing that work. So let's see, what is this analyzer supposed to do? Code fix verifier helper. Extra methods. Okay. Gnostics. I don't know. Alright. I don't see this thing working. So I don't know if I have to do something further to install it. Sample app. Maybe it doesn't have that dependency. Let's see. Dependency projects. Oh, it's not depending on that. Okay. Is endpoints depending on it though? There's code analyzers. Alright. So here's our code analyzer. I was looking at tests before. Alright. So our code analyzer says that we will detect if an endpoint has an extra public method. And should tell us endpoint has more than one public method. Alright. I just did that. Do I have to depend on this project directly? Maybe I do. I was thinking I'd get it transitively from API endpoints, but we'll add it directly with the code analyzer and build. And this is yellow Y. I don't know. Maybe because it's already being pulled in by the first one. Okay, well, in here now, let's see, error list, show me all the warnings. There's no warnings. Naming rule, pattern matching. That's in the code analyzer's project. Won't worry about that. This thing is supposed to trigger a rule. And my wonderful community contributing author that wrote this thing is not here, so I can't ask him what's going on. But there's an install script here. Maybe I have to install it? That seems like how I would install it as an extension. Do not install analyzers. Instead, let the project system handle it. Alright. Does it only work if it's a package? Do I have to publish it as a package and then pull it in? I don't know. I don't know how these work. So, let's see. Can you trust check in the commit history if your last push broke something? I could, but this is the only code that's here. Tools, alright, install. You gonna check on GitHub? Where would I check? Alright, here's our code. Here's our commits. I'm gonna do it on VS. Alright. So he added this and then I merged in master. And we're wondering if maybe I broke something between these two because we also were doing the addition of those endpoints. Or not endpoints, cancellation tokens. Let's see. So yeah, we could try that. So in VS, if we go here and we look at history, changes, no. Where do I view history for the whole app? Help me out. Where in VS do I view commit history? It's not any of these. This is why I use VS Code. So VS Code will show me commit history in Git Graph, and this merge just merged in assembly info, C# file. This is just all his stuff. So there's nothing else here. That's just me merging in his stuff. So I don't think I broke it. Unless me merging that into master broke it because the signature changed. So maybe he's looking for, let's try this. If he's looking for one that doesn't have that cancellation token, and we added the cancellation token, that could be the problem. So where is his analyzer? Is here. Endpoint extra. Let's do the analyzer right there. And he's going to look for an endpoint that has a certain signature that looks like his API endpoint is going to be this base type. Okay, so we're only going to apply to method symbols that have any base type of base endpoint or base async endpoint. That didn't change, right? So if I look at this, it's still called base async endpoint. Let me close some of these things. Alright, so there's base async endpoint now has a cancellation token. It didn't used to have that. And so this analyzer looks for those. Thank you for the follow, October Rust. Down in master there's a view history. Okay, that's where it's hiding. Alright. Which I already discovered this elsewhere, but thank you. I always forget to look for that there. And Ficeni is following now. Thank you. Alright, so if it's not an API endpoint, we're going to leave. If it's not a public method, we're going to leave. Otherwise, we're going to say it violates the rule. Create a rule. Type.name. Okay, so how do we know if this public method is the one that we should have, the handle method, or not? He never checks that, right? He says, let me check the method declaration. None of that has anything to do with it. Categories, naming. Must have only one public method. This all looks good. So somewhere it either has to check that the count is greater than 1, or it has to check that the public method is not the handle method, right? Because it is going to have a public method. It's going to have a handle method. It's going to look like, like this. It's going to have this public override whatever handle async. And then if I add another public method, public void do, like that, that should trigger this analyzer. But it doesn't. What I don't understand is how the analyzer is matching on this one or counting the total number, which might include the constructor. So how does this work? Analyze method declaration. Get this method symbol. If it's not a method symbol, get out of here. If it's an API endpoint, we check to see if it's base type. And I'm assuming that's the actual type of the class, right? The containing type is the class. The base type is the base type of the class. And if it is one of base endpoint or base async endpoint, then and those are just strings. So that's these. Now I'm assuming those work with generics, but maybe they don't. Maybe this needs to be base endpoint with a caret symbol or something on it. So I don't know if that will match, but you have to use those generics, so I would think this has to be it. We could say this is a contains, and maybe that would make it match, because I don't know if we're getting past this or not, since it's not doing anything. But let's assume that that used to work, and it's always been generic, so maybe this had to work. Then, if it's not that, we're going to return. Otherwise, if it's overriding something, that's how he's checking it. Or it's not public. Okay, so if it's overriding, we're going to keep it. So my thing here overrides, but this one doesn't. So the one that's not overriding should still get down here. So at this point, we have a new public method that doesn't override and violates the rule. So we're going to create the rule, yada, yada, yada. All right. I think I can attach a debugger to an instance of Visual Studio to test this, but I haven't tried that before. That might be what I need to do to see why this isn't working. Or I have to use that installer. Let's see. Let's go here. Let's do how to test Visual Studio Code Verifier. Is it called a verifier? It's called a analyzer. Code analyzers. Source code analyzers, configure. How do I write my own? How to write a Roslyn analyzer. There we go. Alright, so that's what they did. And the extension development. Alright, so it doesn't appear in their analyzer, so it's not installed yet. So I have to publish it as a package and then install the package, right? Probably you need to install it through the script. But I think the script expects it to be a package too. Like that was my understanding, my very limited understanding. So if I take this thing, and we check its packages here. So there's version 1.0, author, there's fill, blah 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 blah. No package analysis. Okay, so if I just publish this thing right from Visual Studio, target is a folder, browse, I have a C, this BC, C, local NuGet, that'll do. So say OK, we'll just drop it right into there, finish, publish. Alright, then I can go to my sample and remove the project reference and instead manage NuGet packages and tell it to look at local NuGet, which I don't have. Go to settings, check local NuGet, and look at that. And there should be now this thing, right? I don't see it. I have to browse. There it is. That. Alright, so that's the thing that I just did, so we're going to install it. The same key has already been added. Alright, I don't know what that means. Got a package references. Didn't add that. It must be this transitive dependency from here. So I'm going to remove the project reference from this one. Right there. So we'll take this out. And build. And that should be okay. Yep. Alright, now we go back to NuGet and we try this again. Install. And it worked. Okay. So let's do our rebuild just to be safe. Ooh, look at that. Got warnings already. Alright, so as soon as I created a package and then installed it, it seems like it started working. So get rid of that. Get rid of that. Let's go look at this. And boom. Endpoint create has additional. Excellent. Can I fix that? How do I fix that? Make this method internal. Okay. That works. Public control dot, make this method private. That works too. Sweet. Alright. Let's try it on this other one here. Should be the same. There it is. Deleting it is a fix that we didn't implement yet, I don't think, but was one that was on our list. And we're good. We're not good. Oh, it's catching the constructors. Alright, that's a bug. It shouldn't do that. So, inside of... So how did he not catch that? He must not have tested it against anything with a constructor. Inside our analyzer, we're testing... That's not it. What is it? Go away. Go away. Alright. Alright. Here we are. So, if the method... If it's an override, or that, what if it's, can I check constructor here? Alright, how do I do that? Check if method is a constructor. What is method symbol? iMethod symbol. Alright. That's not quite what I want. That doesn't mention whether it's a constructor. Attribute. If it's a property symbol, if it's a field symbol, check its attributes. Nothing here checks constructor, though. Viceni says, I think you can't do through the method reference, you should start from the type. Okay. So I need to back out of the analyzer if I'm in the type and I look at its constructor somehow. But the method symbol is still going to have to run, and it's still going to pick up that constructor as a symbol, isn't it? I guess no. I guess the context.symbol should only get hit once. And I can just return out if that context.symbol's type is the constructor. How does that work? Symbol analysis context. So Roslyn, context, constructor. Alright, so let's look at this. Finding other types, finding generic types. Okay, that's the only place you mentioned the word constructor. That's not helpful. It calls it CTOR as the actual method. And now these want to change that to actor. No, I want it to be CTOR. Actually CTOR. I symbol constructor method. Here's something that gets a list of constructors. Get constructors. Alright, symbol analysis context. Name type, give me the symbol. Alright, get the members, then get the constructors from the members. So I just want to say if it's a constructor, just get out of here. Right? I don't want to go. I want to detect if the current symbol is a constructor, which this is not quite doing. Context, get type, get constructor, right? But that won't tell me if my current symbol is one. Find members on base types that share the member's name. That's close, right? I mean, the constructor is going to share the member's name. Maybe that's what I have to do. I have to get the base type and see if it matches the name. So I could say if the containing type has the same name as this, right? We could say something like var is constructor equals method symbol dot containing type dot name constructor is constructor method symbol var type name equals that, right? Var is constructor equals method symbol dot name equals type name. If is constructor, return. Yeah? Tony says look for method base is constructor. Like this could be shortened down, but that might work, right? I just don't know if that name is going to equal the type name. It has to be a constructor at that point, right? Like it won't work for me to have this thing called update and that thing called update. What if I want to have another method called public void update? Spelled correctly. Can I do that? The compiler's not going to let me get away with that, is it? Member names cannot be the same as their enclosing type. Alright, good. So we should be good with the type name and this. They're constructed from property on method symbol. Var is constructor equals method symbol dot constructed from. There is. What does that tell us? That is a method symbol. Contains the method symbol this method was constructed from. What does that do for me, silly porridge? Do I just see if it's equal to this? Returns the method symbol that this method was constructed from. Would that be like the base method? Like if we're doing inheritance, or what? I don't know if I can use that or not. It definitely is a thing. Var constructor equals method symbol dot constructor. That might be helpful, but I'm going to leave it commented out for now. Let's see if this thing works as is. So, just because we can, I'm going to version this thing. And somewhere I can specify stuff like release notes, summary, description. I had release notes as a thing. See, there's summary, there's description. Alright. There's a lot of crap in there. Package release notes. Alright, well I was going to add some release notes, but I can't find it, so we'll skip that. So here we're going to publish. No. We're going to publish. Publish. Then we're going to go to our sample, and we're going to go to manage NuGet packages, and this thing now has an upgrade. We're going to install. Doesn't have an upgrade. Why don't you have an upgrade? There it is. Latest stable 101. Update. Boom. Alright. Rebuild. Endpoint create has an additional public method.ctor. Endpoints must have only one public method. So its method name is .ctor, so I need to just check that. Wherever that was. Right? So in this analyzer, if I just say, not that method name is CTOR, but, or type name, but literally CTOR as a constant, then I don't need any of this, and that should work. So now if we go back into here, rev it again to 2, build it again, publish it again, then go back to our sample app and manage NuGet packages for that, and refresh. Now it sees the O2 update, and it still sees that. Seems like we're getting fewer and fewer. We're into 2 warnings. Neil Gilbert, thank you for the follow. Alright, so we're in here. Build that. Is it only going to pick them up if I've got it open? Is that why there's fewer and fewer? Because get, list, update, but I have create also. What happened to create? Create has the same thing, and there it is. So the error list added create. But if I close these tabs, I think these code fix things only work when you have the tab open. And we build, everything builds, error list, nothing. So let's just focus on create. We open this one up, code on the analyzer runs, we get our warning. Create has additional public method ctor, .ctor. If we look at this analyzer, it says that our message is endpoint has additional public method there. So message format, second parameter is the thing. So where's message format used? The rule, new diagnostic descriptor, message format. It's only those 2 places. Alright. Alright, where does it get these 2 parameters then? The endpoint name and the method. Here's our diagnostic rule. There it is. There's the endpoint name, and there's the method name. So method symbol.name is the thing. Method symbol.method kind is a thing. Alright. So we're thinking here we could say if method symbol dot method kind equals method kind dot, oh, awesome. Let's try that. That should be easy enough. Okay, so let's rev this thing again. 103. Aren't you glad we aren't having to wait for Azure DevOps every time I do this? Let's publish this locally. Publish. Let's go up to our NuGet package here and refresh. It sees 103. Let's update to it. And it still sees it. I think this will do the trick. Method kind constructor. Yeah, I don't know why that didn't work. That should have worked. Packages, code analyzers 103. We did all the right things. Endpoints must have only one public method. So why didn't that work? There's our analyzer. This is a total hack, but let's see what we get in some diagnostics out of this. I'm just going to stuff the information into the name so I can view it. I could probably add some logging or some other way of testing this, but how's it going? Fanu Sekbro. Publish. Let's go back to here. Let's refresh. Let's update. Endpoint create has additional public method. It didn't change at all, did it? So is it not picking up our changes? Do I have to do a clean or something? Because that really should have changed, because I changed the name. Right. So now it definitely got different information there. Let's go to the error list. This one's different. Endpoint list has additional public method handle async. Oh, so we broke that. Additional public method constructor. I didn't even open list though. Create has constructor. So somehow list is being weird now. It has both the overriding one. Oh, this one's not an override. I wonder why. It should be an override, shouldn't it? Method. So on update, we override, and on get, we override, on delete, we override, on create, we override, but for list, we don't override. Why not? Because we gave it additional arguments. And that's why. And that means that this type, this list type, if we look at its methods, it's going to have both. Oh no, it doesn't. It only has those two public methods. Alright. Okay, so we just uncovered another place where the analyzer doesn't really work. So maybe we just need to publish this analyzer and just be okay with the fact that it has some bugs, and maybe Phil can fix those bugs in his analyzer. And I can just move on, because it is close to 1 o'clock now, and I haven't managed to publish anything out to NuGet. So, I don't know why this name isn't being built from here, right? So if we have a violation of the rule, this name that I added here should have that in it every time. That's not in an if block. And it should have the method kind in it also, but it doesn't, which is weird. Alright, I don't know why that's not working, but I'm going to rip that back out. Keep the name up there, rip this out. We'll put this back to method symbol.name. That's what it was. Build this. We'll make that version. It's not happy with this now. Hey John Calloway, how's it going? Let's rev this version now to 105. And we're going to go ahead and publish this out to NuGet as soon as we verify that it's working at least as well as the other things are. So let's publish it locally first. Boom. And let's go to my sample here. I don't have it anymore. Alright, manage NuGet packages. Refresh. There's 105, update. Let's do a full rebuild. Alright, that's about what I expect. It's not perfect, but that's fine. Alright, so for me to get that to deploy, I want to go out here, and it should be in master now. Right, there's the code analyzers. Okay. So if I go into GitHub, workflows, publish, this is supposed to publish out to NuGet under source star, but do I want to have two publishes? I think I want to have two publishes. So I think this needs to be source and then change up the location. So let me just duplicate this and verify that it's API endpoints, source, Ardalis API endpoints. So it's that. So over here, we're going to modify this thing and say, you know what, we're only going to do that, whack star star, and start commit. Alright, and then we're going to duplicate this file. So I'm going to take the raw, copy all of it, and we'll go here, and we'll say add a file, create a new file, and this is going to be publish analyzer.yaml, and we'll paste this in, and this one is now going to be anything under code analyzers here with a forward and trailing slash, which looks good. Alright, now this needs to be that Ardalis API endpoints dot code analyzers. That should be fine. Do the version. Tag the commit with I don't know about that. Tag format, I guess we could do analyzer v whatever. We'll try that. Create. Alright, now I need to go out to NuGet, and I need to mess around with my keys. So over here I have API keys. You're not going to get to see them, but one of them is for API endpoints. I can edit this, and I can give it a glob pattern that looks like ardalis.api_endpoints.star. So it can let me do that. Or even that. That's better. So if I say edit, does that save? Maybe? Alright. Alright, that should be good. It doesn't expire for another 6 months. So now if we come back to here, we can look at our actions. It's probably trying to publish this already, which is fine, but I'm going to go ahead and push my changes so that we get the newest version. So here, say, we're working This local NuGet thing is probably going to break my sample project, but I'll fix that in another push. Working on getting analyzers working and published. Commit, sync, push, boom. Okay. Oh, because I modified stuff. Alright, so pull and then push. Alright, so we're all good. Now we just get to watch the things. Ooh, that looks like it worked. So in NuGet, if I look for Ardalis, we have API endpoints. We should also have API endpoints dot code analyzers. No. Is that not what they're called? Okay, well, that's their package ID right there. Alright, well eventually this should work. Alright, well, let's go back to all workflows. That didn't work. Probably the sample project. Look, sample project, unable to find this package. Yeah, alright, I knew that would be a problem. Let's go back here. Sample app, packages, code analyzers, go away. Good. We'll add it back in a minute. Changes. Commit, sync, push. Always the most exciting part of the streams, trying to get GitHub Actions and Azure DevOps workflows to work. Alright. If I don't make a change to the package itself, though, that glob pattern I gave for the GitHub action isn't going to take effect. So I also have to go in here. I swear there was a release notes thing I could do. Let me go find that real quick. So if we look here at the code for the csproj file, it's got package release notes and tags. I don't know if I need the tags. We'll grab both of those. So if we come here and we go to the code analyzers, here, package tags were not there, so positives, constructors. Alright. That should work. Small regression. Method kind is not working, so you have to update the package analyzer project as well. Sample app was getting a reference to the old package and not picking up the updated stuff. I did notice that it wasn't picking up the new stuff. But in any case, I'm going to push this change just to kick off the first build and try and get it out to NuGet. And then you guys can play with it, and then we can start fixing it. So Add tags and release notes to CSproj. Commit, sync, sync. Okay, that should lead us to some more builds. There's only 2 workflows here, though. I thought I added a 3rd workflow. Did that not take? Right, there's my other workflow. YAML needs to be YML. I think that's my issue. Alright, let me rename that. Edit. YAML. Start. Rename thing. Commit. That'll be better. Now it should show up. Still not there. That showed up. While we're at it, this thing needs a better name. Publish what to NuGet? Publish analyzer to NuGet. And publish is publish API endpoints to NuGet. Alright, now we should have all kinds of stuff going on here. There we go. So you have to have unique names for them to show up here. So we want the analyzer build, which has nothing. Thanks for the follow, Watamel. Okay, why are you not picking up anything? Is it because I haven't pushed since I've got you fixed? Publish analyzer should be on the master branch. Should be under source, Ardalis, API endpoints, code analyzers, ***. Alright. That would be source. API endpoints, Ardalis, API endpoints, code analyzers. Anything under here. Okay. That looks like it should work. Let's rev it up to 106 just because. That way it will be different from what I have locally also. And let's try and push that out there. I really think that path ought to be working. And this still just doesn't want to pick it up. Neither one of the publishes wants to work. This one works every time. Alright, somehow I broke the publish workflows. Is there a trailing slash that shouldn't have been there? So I know this used to work. And it was /source /*, and I added this to it, and now it's not working. It's not even running on push, which is what I'm doing. So when I push to master and the path has this change, it should do its thing, right? So what am I missing here? Let's go look at this one for example, if this one works. Workflow, publish. I'm pretty sure I stole it from here. On push, branch master, source. Can you show the core which works? Yeah, that one doesn't have any filter on path. So if we go here, workflows.NET Core, it just says on push to anything. So any push to anything is going to run this. Remove the slash in the beginning. Well, yeah, that's a good call. That one didn't have it. So let's try that. Let's go workflows, publish analyzer, edit. So maybe this never worked, because this is where I started from. And let's go here. Maybe I have to push now. Let's do it to both. There's a license file in here. Not sure why that's in that folder, but we'll use it. That worked. Alright. Let's go to the analyzer then. So it was that leading slash, I think. And let's go here. Yeah, I can delete that. Just do that. Alright, so there we go. Everything is running. Finausic Bro, thank you, man. That seems to have done it. So let's see if these work. Publish API endpoints. This shouldn't really do a whole lot. I didn't update the version on this one, so I don't think. At least I don't think I did. I'll go check. And that failed. Alright, there, that worked. Let's go back to here. And this is on still 1.0.0. I haven't updated it yet. So it probably didn't push anything. But now we go to the analyzer, and it's still thinking about it, which is okay. It's got to create this NuGet package for the very first time. And that one seems to have worked. It says it listed it on NuGet, so that's cool. Let's see if it does it again. Because this second one, I think, is when I revved the version to 106. Jit Cypher, NicuDev, Neil Gilbert, thanks for the follows. I think I missed that earlier. Alright, and it seems to have completed. List on NuGet. Alright, so we should be at 106 here, and this should exist. And it does exist. And it is 106. I love it when a plan comes together. Alright, now this is validating. That usually takes a couple minutes. As soon as that stops being validating, I will be able to pull it into API endpoints. So in Visual Studio, I want to go to, I'm not even sure I want it on API endpoints though. I'm not sure that makes sense. So maybe just the sample. Maybe we'll just do the sample. So in the sample, NuGet packages, and we're going to not use local NuGet. So we're going to turn off local NuGet. Okay. And we're going to search for Ardalis dot API endpoints there, and it finds all this other stuff. I don't know why, but there's that. Up to 12,000 downloads. That's not bad. And I think I do have a new version I need to push for this with the cancellation token, so I do need to rev that. But let's get this first. Stop validating. Listed 106. Alright. So listed means refresh should show it. Code analyzers. There it is. 105. I want 106. That's weird. Well, maybe I have to wait one more minute. They both say they're listed, but this one's just a bit late. There, perfect. 106. Alright. Install. And there we go. So, doesn't like any of the constructors. We'll have to worry about that later. While we're here, let's look for any other updates that we may as well apply. Am I using AutoMapper? I guess I am. So sure, let's just update all these things. Shouldn't hurt anything. Alright, we need to update the functional tests as well. And finally, that, which, there we go. Alright, so that's good. That's good. May as well do these as well. None of these affect my package that I'm going to push. Alright. So you're working on some static code analyzer for API endpoints. Yes. Really, Phil did this for me. Phil who? Well, Phil Piddle. At ppiddle did this in a pull request a couple weeks ago. I am just trying to get it to work all the way because it doesn't seem to like constructors. It catches constructors as being a problem, which this was supposed to fix, but apparently not. Alright, so API endpoints, we're just going to rev to 1.0. We need to update this to 2, because it has breaking changes. Its 2.0 release is, it now has cancellation token support, but that actually does break people. So we have to rev it a full version, which is fine. This thing doesn't actually depend on that thing, does it? Doesn't. It doesn't really depend on anything, so it shouldn't have to worry about that. And my actual package, API endpoints, doesn't depend on anything really either, except MVC. So there's no relationship between code analyzers and API endpoints, which is interesting. Alright, so let's get all this checked in. Let's get all this saved. So let's run some tests for a change. Make sure they all work. Alright, let's look at these code analyzer tests. This checks some code. Here's my code. Here's my two publics with an override. Alright, so this is how I ought to be testing this thing, really. I just need to add a test case for the constructor, and that should do the trick. So I'll work on that some other time perhaps, if Phil doesn't get to it first. Alright, so this is updating versions to publish API endpoints v2. That's pretty much all I'm doing there. So we'll commit that, sync it, and we're good to go. Now if I go out to here one more time and we watch our workflow for API endpoints, this should work. Alright, theoretically, that's doing the job. So if we come back out here, we take this off, there it is. 2.0 is out there and validating. So that means I can go back out to my list of issues here, and cancellation tokens are done, right? Which we can grab here. Yay! Alright, let's add an issue. Create an analyzer. That's done also, just has some issues. So I'm going to add a separate issue for tracking the problems with it. So probably it could have its own project or something. So there's that. Pull that into here. Close. Alright, so then need to add a new issue with the analyzer. Falsely matches constructor. Repro. Use the sample project and look at any of the endpoints there. Let's do a screenshot. So in here, in our sample app, sample endpoint app, create copy, paste that in here. Constructors should be ignored by the analyzer. Submit. Alright, and then another one. Analyzer. Falsely matches handle async method that isn't overriding. Alright, so handle methods that take query string arguments will not one-to-one override base handle async methods. How does that even work? They must have a different... Let's go look at that. So this is a base async endpoint, and this is a base async endpoint, but it's not generic. So the non-generic one is the thing. I think that's the thing. Example, the list method in the sample doesn't inherit from a generic base, and so what, how does that even work? Yeah, this thing doesn't even define a handle, that's why. Generic base, so its base method doesn't define a handle async to override, right? And you can have an arbitrary set of methods, method arguments. Submit. Alright. By the way, I just want to thank you for your presentation about DD clean architecture and stuff like that. It's helping me a lot as a Java developer willing to learn .NET Core. Awesome. How do you like .NET Core compared to Java, or more specifically C# compared to Java? I'm biased, but I have had to work with Java some, and I really like C# better. Alright, pull requests are all good. Let's see, P. Piddle. Let me just mention him on these in case he wants to jump on them. Comment. Here we go. Alright, I'm going to say that's probably good enough. Now, I am using this API endpoints thing in a few of my other projects. Let's go back to the home page and see used by 49 things. Wow, that's impressive. That's pretty cool. I'm using it in Clean Architecture and eShop on Web, so I'm going to have to update those. So if you want to see what the updates look like, it should be pretty trivial. One is going to be at github.com, like Ardalis, Clean Architecture, and if somebody wants to do this for me and do a pull request, that would be awesome. There's 2 pull requests out there, but source, web, Clean Architecture web should have API endpoints. I haven't even updated it to 1.0 yet, so that'll be a thing. Issues, I'll add an issue for this. New issue, update API endpoints to 2.0.0. Label that good first issue, help wanted. Several enhancement. Submit. And let's do the same thing at eShop on web. This one ought to at least be on. Hey, thanks for the follow, not Jawao. Source, web, actually public API, has a bunch of endpoints, and project that is using version 1. Alright, so issues, new, update API endpoints to 2.0.0, labelify, help wanted, first contributor welcome, submit. Okay, that should be pretty easy. Now, any questions anybody has? Raventhorn wants to know, what the heck does this library even do? Which is a good question. Let's look at the sample real quick. So here is a sample app with some author endpoints, and they do CRUD stuff, right? What I probably ought to have done is had a controller version of this in here. But imagine that this is your controller for authors, and you've got your usual CRUD endpoints in here. You might have a post method to create an author that looks like this. And it might be even bigger, right? But then you've also got a get method and a delete method and a list method. And each one of those has an API model that goes with it, where it takes in some command and returns some response. And maybe you're using Mediator, and you've figured out a way to keep that from being too horrible. So if you go look in the README file here, there's this detailed article on how to move to using Mediator. And so if you start out and you have controller looks something like this, and here's one such method that's creating a movie, you can take in Mediator instead, and then take this thing and create a command, and then do mediator.send to do the actual work inside of a handler. And then your handler looks like this, right? And all your dependencies that you had in your controller now go to the handler. And some of those dependencies probably were only for one action, right? But you still had to put it into the constructor for the controller. So the controller constructor tends to be this, kitchen sink of dependencies. This now lets you take each one of those dependencies and put it with only that exact action method, that handler, that it needs to be with. And so this mediator approach is nice, right? And then you can go a step further. You can say, let's just use model binding to create my mediator command. Instead of doing it inside my action method here with some actual code, I'll let model binding do it, and then I can just do this, right? So if you just do the mediator thing, you can get down to this point where every one of your controllers just takes in a mediator and does a send on every single action. And then you could take this mediator constructor thing and actually put it inside your base API controller, like this. Right now your controller gets really thin, and every action method just looks like this. But if you have 5 or 6 or 10 action methods, right, it's still pretty big, and every single one of them is like just the same boilerplate crap, right? So why do you even need the controller at that point? It's not really doing anything. So what the endpoints do is like, all right, let's just have an endpoint per file. Get rid of the whole the whole mediator thing, because really all the work is happening inside of the handler anyway, right? The actual work is here, right? This is your mediator handler that does the real work. So why don't we just make that be the thing that ASP.NET Core routes to? And so if you configure ASP.NET Core to just route to this handler directly, you don't even have to have mediator in there. And so that's what API Endpoints does. So API Endpoints just says, hey, let's just route directly to these endpoints. And coming back here now to the code, you just say, I want an endpoint called create. I'm going to inherit from base async endpoint. I'm going to say I take in this command and I return back this result. And you can see where those are down here, right? The result is the thing that gets returned back with the action result. The command is the thing that comes in on the command line or in the arguments for the endpoint. And where are those, right? Well, you don't have to have a separate models property or folder. You don't have to clutter up this thing with all of those. They're actually just hooked in right here. They're chained to it. So your command is right here with it. Your result is right here with it. And that's it, right? Everything you need to know about this endpoint is right here, nowhere else. So that's the idea, right? You don't have to go find all these other places. Viceni's already got a fix in there. That's awesome. So he's going to do a pull request. Viceni, if you get that working, go ahead and rev the project file and put in some release notes in there. That way when I accept your pull request, it should automatically build and deploy and push that out to NuGet. All right. Raventhorn also says he signed up for my dev intersection thing. Awesome. That's cool. Let's plug those real quick. So there's a virtual .dev intersection conference that I'm presenting at September 1st and 2nd. There's some old picture of me on here. Yep, there's me from a while ago. And if you go look at the workshops here, and you go find there's domain-driven design patterns with a video, and I've got another one on day 2 with just clean architecture with a different video. So I'll post this in the chat. Yeah, I'm sure there's a solution for the override option too, if it's any. I don't think it's the same solution, that's why I made it 2 issues, but I'll bet it shouldn't be too difficult to sort out, especially now that we've figured out why the package wasn't re-updating every time. Alright, so if you want to come to these workshops, I don't know how much they cost, but you can register, and they're, what are they? 9 a.m. When is this thing? 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. So 4 hours. And talking about D2D patterns in the one and clean architecture in the other. Check that out. I don't know what time zone that is. 10 a.m. for you, keynote before. Really? Keynote begins at 9, workshops begin at 10. Okay, fine. But that's Pacific. Okay, so these are afternoon. I'll figure it out because it'll be on my calendar at the time. So 1 o'clock. So yeah, afternoon for 3 hours. So 1 to 4 sounds like. So I'll have to squeeze in a lot of good stuff in my 3 hours. So this is Tuesday, 9 a.m. Pacific, which is noon here, to 1 o'clock. Yeah. All right. So check that out if you want. Yeah, it's PST. They should really say that that's PST. Alright, locally the method kind fixes the constructor issue. Probably it was just not updating correctly. Alright, good. Let's check that out. Now, a couple of you can mess around with the API endpoint fixes, maybe just Viceni's on that, that's fine. Why is that still yellow? Everything should be built at this point. Yeah, alright, good. Let me switch gears for the next little bit, and let's talk a little bit about the Memento Pattern, because I've got a Pluralsight course I got to do on it. So I have another project here. Get this thing out of the way of the chat. Like that, hopefully. Alright. And let's pull this up in the browser also. So we have github.com, Ardalis, whack, design patterns in C#. There. So this is my design patterns repo that I'm working on, which I'll paste in the chat for you. And I don't have, there's an issue in here. Template method, oh, right. That could be closed. That's published. Alright. I don't have a Memento thing in here yet. So what I was thinking I would do is a simple game that runs on the console. And for that I'll probably need another project to run it. But let's see. Patterns, benchmarks, greeter service. What is this? This greeter. Oh, right. Okay. That is not what I want to mess with. Let's close all but this. And let's look at getting a new console app set up. And it can talk to the Memento in here. So let's add a new folder. New folder. Memento. Right. And also a new project that'll reference this thing and use that Memento. So we'll add a new project. And I'm going to make it a console app for .NET Core with C#. And we're going to call it Hangman Game, like that. And create it right there. Welcome to Hangman. Alright, now I have, I think, some sample code for this somewhere that I can borrow from. Let's see, I have some code from my original Pluralsight design pattern on Memento here, which is XAML code. And the main thing that it does is it stores the state and pushes this onto a stack every time you would make changes. This was a paint program. And then if you wanted to do undo redo like this, it would pop off the state and replace it. So this is the code we're going to basically implement, but I didn't want to do it in WPF because that seems not as cross-platform, not as modern as .NET Core. So the whole reason I'm doing this thing again is because Pluralsight wants an updated course with updated samples. So I think I have a Hangman game here somewhere also, right there. And basically it has a game state that asks for guesses and checks whether the game has finished. So I think the game itself is what I'll put inside the Memento folder, and then in here this will just run the program. So let's create this game now. We'll call it Hangman Game, I guess. We'll make it public. And that way I can new it up from here. This will need a reference. Here, add project reference back to my design pattern. Say OK. Our game equals new Hangman Game. Right there. Oh, I shouldn't name that the same name as this, should I? That was dumb of me. Let's rename this to App. And then this becomes Hangman Game App. And that's all good. That should work. Alright, so now, I was wondering why that auto-completed so nicely. Control dot. Alright, you found the right thing. Alright, so I lost my chat window. Alright, you guys aren't saying anything. That's fine. You can be quiet. The game is going to have to be able to take its state and recover it. That's what the Memento is all about. I need to be able to show what it works like without Memento, and then apply the pattern. So first, let's see, we're going to need to create the game interface. And so we'd say while not game dot is over. Start off with that. We'll probably move on to something else, but let's make a property of is over. And we want to get the guess from the user. We want to display a command, so we can actually just do all that work right here for now. We'd say console dot writeLine game dot current word with current masked word. That should be fine. That's a string. We don't have that yet, but let's make a property for that. I could probably write some tests for this. That would probably be a good idea. But we'll show you the word, and then we'll let you make a guess. So console.writeLine previous guesses, and then plus game.previous guesses, and that can be another property. And then console.writeLine guess. Right? And then we want to take the guess and say var entry equals console.readLine. We can just do read key. Oh, let's do readLine. We can hit enter. Game.guess entry. Like that. Okay, that's not a thing yet either, so control dot generate guess. Let's put in our tests for this. So hangman.guess is going to be the main one. So we'll say public class hangman game guess fact public void returns, what does it return? Doesn't return anything. Throws given invalid guess. So we need to pull in a namespace for X unit. And what's an invalid guess? Well, anything that's more than one letter, or anything that isn't the expected letters. So I need some way to validate the guess. For now, let's just give it one. So our game equals new hangman game. String invalid guess equals 2 letters. And assert.throws invalid guess exception if we call game.guess with invalid guess. Like that. We don't have an invalid guess exception, but we're going to say public class invalid guess exception like that. And then we'll just give it that. Do I even need that? I don't think I need that. I'm not providing a message. So let's build that. Simon Gearing, how's it going? Dinner time for you. Let's run these tests. So let's run the test. And it fails. And that's because this is a throw not implemented exception. So here we're going to validate the guess. We're going to say if entry.length is greater than 1, throw new invalid guess exception. And then run our test. And it passes. Alright. Now let's make this a theory. Now that we've proven that it'll work. Right there. And we'll inline data, the AA, and we'll say string invalid guess, and that can go away, and that should still run. Alright, and then we'll also do private hangman game underscore game equal new hangman game up here, and then we don't need that. And this is a little bit premature optimization, but I'm about to write a bunch of tests, so that's why I'm doing it now. And while we're at that, let's verify. This is doing too much, but let's see what happens when I pass it an empty string. I should get some passing and some failing. And it fails. We look at our test explorer with a zillion tests, but we see Memento has 1 fail and 1 pass. So we come back in here and we say if string dot is null or white space of entry, throw new invalid guess exception. Alright. Now blowing up like that's probably not going to be what we end up wanting to do for this app, so I may need to change that, but for now that works. And maybe I just catch that in the program and render something nice there. We'll see. See how we decide to do validation. It's not really the point of the app, since we're trying to just do a Memento demo. But this should now be green. And it is. Okay, so we need some thing to guess. Some kind of secret word. We could pass that in when we create the game. That probably makes sense. If we don't pass it in, we could have a default secret word. So let's do that. Let's go here. Let's give it a string secret word right there. Equals secret, and control dot, make a field for that. And we'll do secret word dot to upper. Alright. And the current masked word, we'll have to work on that in a minute. We don't have an easy way to view the secret word, but I suppose I could make that a property if we wanted to. So, I don't think I need to though. So this can go to its own file. Right, alright. If I give it a valid guess, it shouldn't do anything. Well, it should either add it to the previous guesses or mask the word. The other thing that we should specify is how many guesses you get. So it should decrement how many guesses you have left, right? Let's just hard code that for now. Public int guesses remaining. I guess it's really wrong guesses remaining. I'll say guesses remaining. Get set, and let's just set this to a number so you get 5 guesses. Right? Alright, so then I can check here. I can say public void decrements guesses remaining given invalid guess. Right? So make that a fact. I know my secret word is going to be secret when we create a game without saying so. But let's be explicit for my test. Let's say private read-only string secret word equals test. And then this is secret word. Right there. Right, that should be allowed. It cannot be a reference to non-static. Oh, this can be a const. It's not a field initializer, it's a constructor. Field initializer cannot be blah blah blah. What did I do wrong there? It builds. Okay, it's just Visual Studio being stupid again. Alright. Let's make that back to read-only. That way I don't have to change its case. Now in here, I can say game, let's see, int initial guesses equals game.guesses remaining. Game.guess. Let's do a string invalid guess equals z. Game.guess invalid guess. Assert.equal initial guesses -1 game.guesses remaining. Right? You're red again. String secret word. Okay. Field initializer cannot reference. Alright, but it only works if it's constant. Fine. Okay, so we're up to that. we're really just TDDing a game at this point. We haven't even gotten to the Memento pattern. But we'll get there quick enough. Alright, so in here now we've got an entry, we've got our tests, we're going to run these tests. We expect this test down here to fail. It does. If we look at y, it will tell us that expected 4, actually it was still 5, and that's because we're not decrementing guesses remaining. So we can just say now here, guesses remaining, minus minus. Boom. Totally the right behavior that we want. So run this test, and it passes. Alright, now it should do the opposite. Should do decrements. Let's see. Does not decrement guesses remaining given valid guess. A valid guess for test would be, let's say, E. Valid guess. Valid guess should stay the same. Let's run this test. Doesn't work. Alright, so then we can come up here and we can change this to say if secret word dot to char array dot contains. Can I use contains like that? I can do that. There's a better way to do this. Isn't there like char add or something like that? Element at index of char secret word dot index of entry 0-based index of this. Alright. Index of entry is greater than 0, then return. Otherwise, do that. Greater than or equal to 0. I think it returns -1 if it's not the thing. So let's run that test. And hey, it passed. Alright. But what if we've already guessed it? Previous guesses, instead of just returning, this should go into, let's see, if I guess something again, it should be an invalid guess. So if there was given an invalid guess, or it should be a duplicate guess, that's what it should be. So let's do another one of these. Fact, throws given duplicate. Invalid, let's make this duplicate. Duplicate guess. Alright. Let's do that. And we don't really care if it's invalid or not, but let's say string invalid guess equals z. That's not really invalid, it's just wrong. Wrong guess equals z. In fact, this should be wrong guess. And this should be correct guess. That's better. Wrong guess is z. Game.guess. Wrong guess. Alright. And then do the same thing here. Should expect a duplicate. Let's go over here. Let's make this a duplicate. And let's run our tests. It should fail. It does. Alright, so we want to get this to detect duplicates. We need to track what we've already done. So if we get past here, we know it's a valid guess. If it's already in our list of previous guesses, so should our previous guesses be a list? Perhaps that's probably easier. Or is it just a bunch of strings? I guess we can just append it. Or maybe our better bet is a list of care. Let's make it a list of care. And that doesn't go there. And you don't need a setter anymore, so we're just going to modify the list. Alright, now that's not going to build, but on the game itself, over here, game.previous guesses, can I just do that? That would be interesting if that works. I haven't actually tried to run this thing yet. I wonder, maybe I should try and do that, or get busy with the tests, which isn't really a bad thing. But we may want to run it here soon and see what that does. Alright, so we want to add the guess to the previous guesses, I think. For now, we'll do it every time. I think eventually we might only do it for wrong guesses. But previous guesses.add care of entry. Will that work? Convert string to care. Convert dot to care from string entry. You can't convert to care, but there is a thing called convert to care, and that works. Alright, so we're going to add that. Okay, let's see what that does. We didn't check for duplicate yet. Okay, so we add that there. What if it's already there? So if previous guesses dot contains, we really want this entry as a character. So care guess care equals convert dot to care entry. And then we can say if previous guesses dot any of guess care, then throw new duplicate exception. Otherwise add care. Cannot convert to like that. That should work. Everything builds. Let's run our tests. And they're all green. So that's cool. Now, let's see if we can actually run this thing. So let's make this our startup project. And control F5 it. And it's over here. And yeah, I didn't think that was actually going to print out what I wanted. So we got to do a little work to make that display correctly. So in the program, our previous guesses should be dot to array. And then we can do string.join. And if we want to do a comma separated list, we can, which is probably right. And we get that. Alright, now if we run that, we get this game here. And we say A, and we say B, we say C, D, E. Alright, and I don't know what this false is. Oh, that's if the game is current master word. Why would that be a bool? That doesn't make sense. Alright, so we gotta make that not be a bool. And we'll add some tests for that, but we're working. Previous guesses, we should probably list out the guesses remaining. Why am I doing it like this? This is the way to do it. There we go. This could be the same thing. $, previous guesses. Okay, now it tells me I got 5 guesses left. A, B, C, and guesses are dropping. Good. Okay, back to the game. We want to know if we get the whole word. We also want to display the masked word. So the current masked word should be all underscores. Fact, public void, begins, or let's see, it's not really a guess thing, is it? Public void has masked word of all underscores. So string, let's do an assertion. Assert dot equal 1, 2, 3, 4 game dot masked current masked word. Okay. That needs to be a string. And we can run this. And it fails because our masked word is not that. Probably don't need a public setter, go to private setter. But really this could just be a function. So this is just a function that says return secret word dot replace and this thing will take, I really want a regex replace, don't I? If I do a regex replace on any alphabet character, I can replace it with underscore. Right? So, let me think. New regex pattern A to Z dot replace underscore. String that replace takes in the string. The string is secret word. Replace. There. Does that do it? Nope. What do you get? Return back test. Current masked word. Current masked word, oh, well, it's lowercase, but I do a 2 upper on it, so current masked word, A to Z, that's my matching pattern. That ought to work, shouldn't it? Oh, I guess I want that to be a star, right? No, because then it'll group. It won't match it with enough. I want it to be for every one of those. Alright, what if we don't do a regex? What if instead we say this is a new string which takes in a char array, so I can say secret word dot select, and I can either say it's in the list of guesses. So if it's in previous guesses dot contains this thing, then I'll show it. Otherwise, I'll underscore it. And then I need that to be a char array. So how about that? Let's see what that does. Hey, we're green. Wow. Okay. Alright. And then hangman guess after we guess. Let's see. Masked word includes guess letter if correct. So don't care about guesses. I do care about a correct guess being E. Game is that. Assert true that game.masked current masked word dot contains, or better yet dot index of convert dot to char correct guess greater than or equal to 0. Is that the best way to see if it contains that string? I don't know. There's probably an easier way than that. Thanks for the follow, Sayo Kid. I'm going to be wrapping it up here in a few minutes because I'm over time. So I'll check and see who else is online. Let me see if this actually passes already. I don't think it does, but maybe. Hey, it does. Alright, so I need to commit this. I've already got a Memento thing, so if you're looking for this code, it's going to be in this Memento branch. Design patterns in C# is already in the chat. Working on initial hangman game for Memento demo. Commit, sync. Let's go back to the browser here, and let's pull up live coders here. And this is going to have sound. Mute that. Let's go hit up Code Rush this week. See, I don't know how long he's going still, but we'll give him a shout. So bring up our stream manager, and we're going to say raid, and we're going to say Code Rush shed right there, and we're going to say start raid. And I will see you all later. I may try and do a couple more streams here before next Friday to try and finish up some of this work I've been doing. And let's go.